Hello there! Welcome to my show, COVID-19 update by Heerak for July 27th, 2020. Today we honor Korean War veterans. Today is the National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day in the United States of America. And as you know, I'm ethnically Korean. So I'm Korean American. I immigrated to United States with my family when my father received a call from a Korean Presbyterian church to be the senior pastor. The name of the church is First Korean Presbyterian Church in Philadelphia. It's it's one of the biggest churches, very active now in Philly. Um, so my family immigrated, and I went to Philmont Christian Academy, which is in Erdenheim, Pennsylvania, or Glenside area. Since arriving in America until I went to University of Pennsylvania for college. Um, yeah, so you know, Korean churches you see all around you in Fairfax County. As you know, I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, which is Arlington, Alexandria Falls Church, and parts of Fairfax County. In fact, wherever you go in America where there are Koreans, you'll see Korean churches. That's part of that is because Koreans converted to Christianity as a result of Christian missionaries who came to Korea. But interestingly enough, if you read a book on the Yi Dynasty, in the 1800s, the Yi Dynasty killed a lot of Christian missionaries. Um, and some say that when Japan occupied Korea from 1910 to 1945, it was God's way of punishing Korea for all the killing of Christian missionaries that the Yi dynasty did in the 1800s. As I have shared with you here, you know, the Holy Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit of the Holy Bible, is very vindictive. I'm an evangelical Christian who believe in this Holy Trinity, but I recognize the fact that God is very vindictive and he does not let things slide. He will punish you. And so when Korean government killed the Christian missionaries in Korea, obviously God wasn't going to let that slide. So God punished the Korean people by having Koreans subjugated under another country for 35 years. As that's how God is. You can always interpret history in spiritual terms. Um, it's important for nations to submit itself or themselves humbly before God because, you know, um, God of the Holy Bible is real and he retaliates when you mistreat servants of God. And there are national tragedies that happen just because you mistreated Christian missionaries. So thankfully, Korea, woke up from its error after 35 years of suffering under Japanese colonialism. They saw the light and started to convert to Christianity. So it's a good thing in Korean history that happened. Um, and so that's what you see Korean churches all around you. But we learned our lesson the hard way. It's not all Korean people killed Christian missionaries; it's just the government, right? And it was a monarchy, so it wasn't like it was democracy. But God punishes the people for what governments do, and that principle is clearly established in the Holy Bible. So when the monarchy of Korea, Yi Dynasty, decided to persecute Christian missionaries who tried to convert Koreans from Buddhism or Confucianism to Christianity, um, they succeeded. They killed a lot of missionaries, obviously, and a lot of Koreans were converted to Christianity. But obviously, God wasn't going to let that slide, and God punished Korea by colonizing it for 35 years. So you can always understand history in spiritual terms when you recognize that God exists and God acts in history, and that God acts in consistent manner um, to how He acts in the Holy Bible. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But anyway, Korean War happened after the Japanese occupation of Korea, which was from 1910 to 1945. Korean War was between 1950 to 1953. My granduncle was the vice president of Korea from 1950 to 1953. It's from my mother's side of the family. We have a lot of politicians um, in Korea, and you know, um, they've done a lot of good since they 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 helped Koreans during Japanese occupation. Many of my relatives on my mother's side were active in the freedom fighting movement to free Korea from Japanese colonialism. And my mother's father actually was imprisoned and killed for his freedom fighting. So my grandmother basically grew up not knowing her father. Yeah, so and that was during 1910 to 1945 Japanese occupation. So political activism goes back very far in my mother's side, and they're from like a Yangban family, which is like a noble family in South Korea or North Korea, actually, Pyongyang. But during the Japanese times, there was no North Korea, South Korea. There was only one Korea. Korea was divided into North Korea, became communist, and South Korea, which became democracy in 1945, after the United States dropped atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So before 1945, there was only one Korea. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, most Koreans are very happy that the United States dropped atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki because that ended the colonialism. So what is tragedy for one people is victory or freedom for another people, which illustrates that in history, it is not that simple. Um, if it weren't for the United States killing civilians using weapons of mass destruction in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Koreans would never have become free from colonialism. So, yeah, I mean, you can't just blankly say, something is evil. And I know some people say that, like liberal progressives say, America should not have dropped atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Obviously, I absolutely disagree. And most Koreans disagree, obviously, because if weapons of mass destruction was not dropped on civilian targets in Japan, colonialism would not have ended for Koreans. So yeah, so I'm all for dropping weapons of mass destruction, atom bombs on civilian population to free people who are colonized. Obviously, that's that's how Korea became free. So it's consistent with my ethnic history. So yes, I support U.S. military dropping weapons of mass destruction on civilian targets. I think that's a good way to fight the war. It ended the war quickly, right? If U.S. has dropped bombs on military targets, Japanese colonialism in Korea might have continued forever, and the United States might have lost the war. So, yeah, I mean, Geneva Convention is overrated. I mean, the biblical version of warfare is always target the civilians. So, yeah, that's the Christian way. That's the biblical way. But anyway, let's go. We celebrate Korean War Veterans Armistice Day, and yeah, I mean, for Korean people, what America did was righteous. Killing civilians, targeting civilians for mass death and destruction through atom bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Um, yeah, I mean, one people's death is on other people's freedom. Well, that's always been that way in history, right? Um, yeah, since we're talking about Korean Armistice Day, I thought I'll show some of the things from Korea to share with you my heritage, cultural heritage. I'm in Virginia. Virginia's cultural heritage is Confederacy. Obviously, I'm an immigrant to America, so my cultural heritage is different. Um, so, my ancestors were, suffered under Japanese occupation. Um, Virginia's ancestors suffered under the occupation during, of Yankees during the Reconstruction. Um, suffering is suffering, but at the hands of different people. Um, yeah, so Kim Davis, when she went to prison for opposing LGBTQ nation, her persecutors are LGBTQ nation. Both are American citizens, but obviously I side with Kim Davis, and all Christians who believe in the Bible side with Kim Davis against LGBTQ nation. So in one nation, you could have two different sides, and one side's victory is another side's defeat. And I hope Kim Davis's side doesn't lose, because that's my side. That's the side of the Vatican. That's the side of Georgetown University's official position, of all Christian University, Liberty University in Virginia, Bob Jones University in South Carolina, in Biola University in California, Messiah College in Pennsylvania, Geneva College in Pennsylvania. So, all of us stand with Kim Davis because we're evangelical Christians or practicing Catholics who follow the Bible. And the Bible is very clear that marriage is between one man and one woman. And so that's the side that we decide to sit on. And that's the side that we hope will win. Obviously, all of us, over 200 million Americans are evangelical Christians. But anyway, one side's heroes are on other side's villains. Kim Davis is our hero, who are evangelical Christians and practicing Catholic, like the Vatican and the Catholic Church, 1 billion Catholics who believe in the Holy Bible and the sacrament of holy matrimony. Obviously, Kim Davis is a villain to LGBTQ nation. One side's a hero is another side's villain, right? In South Korea, my mother's father is a hero to Koreans, but was a villain to Japanese. He's recorded in Japanese history books as a terrorist villain because he wanted to free Korea. He engaged in political activism to free Korea from colonialism. So, history is never simple, it's never black and white. And sometimes liberal progressives are full of it. They're trying to make things black and white. It's not that simple. Yeah. Anyway, I'm in the heart of Confederacy here in Virginia. And every Virginian in Reconstruction era and through Civil War suffered tremendously. And you can't dismiss the suffering of the Virginians in Civil War and Reconstruction. 23 generations ago, 3 or 4 generations ago. Or maybe 5 generations ago, but Reconstruction was like 4 generations ago. History is never simple, and liberal progressives try to simplify it, and that's their problem. It's never that simple. As I've said, yesterday's slight dip in COVID-19 death was just one day fluke. We have 1,000 deaths per day. And today we have 1,075 deaths in 24 hours. So we are now at 148,009 deaths. And remember, this is summertime. We don't have strep throat, really. We don't really have cold. We don't have influenza A, influenza B. We don't have RSV, really. We don't have many of the illnesses that's going to come in the winter. Every year, over 75,000 children get RSV. Some of it develop into bronchitis and pneumonia, and they die. This year, you could count on like 100% of the children getting RSV dying because COVID-19 is here. So count on 75,000 children who get RSV to die. Obviously, that may be your children or they may not be your children. But there are also children who get common cold, and die every year. So count on, over 100,000 children getting common cold and dying this year as well. So we're up to like 175,000 children who will most definitely die in the flu season. And then let's count the children who get flu. And obviously, I got influenza A in March after I got flu shot. You could give all of your children flu shot, and I encourage you to. but they could still get flu and die. Um, I almost died in March because my influenza developed into acute bronchitis and almost went into pneumonia. In which case I would have probably gone to ICU, intubated, and I could have died. You know, every time you get a flu, you could die, and every year there are people dying from flu. But this year, you know, close to 100% of people who get flu will probably die. So let's add the numbers here. So we have 175,000 children or more who could die from just cold and RSV virus. Now let's add strep throat. So let's say another 100,000. So we have 275,000 children in America who would most definitely die if they have these conditions in COVID-19 flu season. I think we need to recognize the fact that at least 500,000 uh, children from birth to 18 will die, at least 500,000 in the flu season. I would say probably more. We have to be practical about this. There are a lot of illnesses that come in wintertime. You know, it's not like you have just cold. There's no vaccine for cold. There's no cure for cold, right? So, I mean, if you get cold during COVID-19 flu season, most likely you're going to die. Hospitals are turning away people in Texas right now, and that's going to happen in all 50 states during flu season. You go to hospital, they say, we got to go home and die. We don't have any space. That's going to happen in all 50 states. There are shortage of nurses, so maybe they have hospital beds, but you know, there's no point because there are not going to be enough nurses to take care of them. They're going to die. So in 50 states, you should expect hospitals to send away your children to die at home because they just ran out of space, ran out of nurses. As you know, I'm predicting that at least 10,000 nurses will die from COVID-19 by Christmas. At least 10,000. It could be more like 50,000. So I'm going to do a cheer for my CNL Clinical Nurse Leader Corps members because I'm saying out of everyone who's graduating in 2020, anywhere from 20 to 40% of them will die from COVID-19. So I'm going to do a cheer. Pin, 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 pin. 2020, pin, pin, pin. Yay! Clinical nurse leaders at Georgetown University 2020 will be pinned. Whoa, we are pinned. Yay! So, but you know, where's our pin? I haven't received my pin in the mail yet. Senya Musa is our class rep. She gave our graduation speech at or class 2020 CNL speech during the pinning ceremony, and she's awesome. She's amazing. She's such a smart woman, and she's so talented, and her speech was amazing. She should run for U.S. Congress. Wait a minute, I'm running for U.S. Congress. But she's in Philadelphia, so she'll run for U.S. Congress in Philly, so we don't have to compete against each other. But yeah, I mean, I could see her being a senator someday or House of Representative member. She's very talented. Yeah, I'm thankful that I know her, you know. She's from Sierra Leone, her family is. And my cousin is a missionary there. He's been a missionary for a long time. I wonder if Senya knows my girl that I dated at Virginia State University. You know, wouldn't it be funny if they're cousins? You know, but anyway, yeah. Maybe Senya sometime, you know. But yeah, I talked about the girl that I dated, Virginia State University in yesterday's show, and she's like #1 student in the teacher education program, bachelor's program at Virginia State University. And I met her when I was a PhD student in administration at Virginia State University. So I took her out, you know, to Cheesecake Factory for dinner. It was kind of romantic. But anyway, yeah. So most people would die. Obviously, you know, in the winter, every one of us who are working will be taking care of COVID-19 patients. One of the hospitals that I interviewed at, and I'm really interested in, in working at, I really like the hospital system. It's, and obviously until something is signed on paper, nothing is concrete. But they're definitely interested in me. I'm interested in them as well. And you know, when I interviewed with them last week, they said we're going to be we're going to be converting probably the unit that you're going to work into a COVID-19 unit, uh, like in the winter time. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. And, you know, I appreciated the fact that they're honest with me because I think people were saying, oh, you know, you're going to come and work in a non-COVID-19 unit and it's never going to be converted to COVID-19 unit. This is lying to you. Uh, so I appreciate the fact that these people were honest with me. You know, when I interviewed, she just was upfront with me and said, you know, it's possible that it gets converted into like a COVID-19 unit. You know, and I appreciate that. I think every one of us in Clinical Nurse Leader 2020 who are starting to work recognize the fact that we are going to have COVID-19 patients and we could die. And, you know, because all 25 of us who have been pinned in May, we're all smart. So I don't think there is a single person in our CNL 2020 who doesn't think that there's a chance that we would die. You know, I think everyone who's starting to work in a hospital are ready to die. Otherwise, you wouldn't start working at the hospital because you will have to take care of COVID patients. Your chance of getting COVID is really high. So obviously, unless you're willing to die working as a nurse, you're not going to work as a nurse. You know, and since COVID-19 is forever, according to World Health Organization, it's not just going to be like this summer. It's not just going to be this winter. It's going to be like this for years and years. So if you're going to work as a nurse, I mean, the risk that you're going to die of COVID will be now forever. Some of us will die before Christmas. Some of us will die next spring. Some of us will die next summer. Some of us will die before next Christmas. You know, and it's going to go on like that. And nurses are the most vulnerable. So I think every one of us who are working in a hospital will be working in a hospital knowing that we could die from COVID-19. I've identified 5 to 10 people in my cohort who have like conditions like asthma or peanut allergies and stuff like that, who I think will die before Christmas 2020. I think well, definitely 20% will die, minimum 20%. There's no vaccine, there's no cure. If you have pre-existing conditions from flu season, yeah, you're gonna die if you get it. Um, Obviously, I hope that none of them die because you know, I love you. All my, you know, my cohort members, I love you guys. I don't want you to die. But, you know, we have to face the facts. Obviously, you can't live in a fiction world, especially as we start working. We can't live in a fiction world. So, you know, I'm, you know, the hospital I interviewed at, HR left a message. I got it late. You know, after 5, I couldn't really, I got the message after 5. They left it earlier, but, so I couldn't go back today, but I'll probably go back tomorrow and see what happens, you know. But yeah, so that's the hospital where, you know, I mean, you know, people are really nice and, you know, yeah. So we'll see, you know, what happens, you know. I interviewed today as well and it went really well. So, you know, let's see what happens, you know. Um, yeah, they're interested in me. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably end up signing with one of them, you know. Or, you know, tomorrow I have an interview as well. And they seem very interested in me. So I'll probably sign with one of these 3, or there are a couple others that may be interested in me as well. But anyway, you know, until it's signed in pen and ink, you know, you don't have a contract. Once I sign with one hospital, obviously I'll let everybody know. Currently I have like, I think a few choices right now that I could choose from. So I'm really excited about that. Um, yeah, so I mean, you know, I like them all, you know, so, you know, obviously whoever gets me to sign first with them are the lucky ones, but, you know, but I expect like every single hospital that I sign with, eventually I'm going to have to work with COVID patients because during the flu season, it's going to be like all COVID patients. So, yeah, I mean, you know, 100% of the hospitals that are, you know, in America, they will have COVID patients. I would say they'll be inundated with COVID patients during flu. So I think most nurses know this. And I'm sure CNL 2020 students all know that. It doesn't matter where you start. By Christmas, you'll be working on COVID-19 patients unless you have died by COVID. You know, obviously you'll be in your grave. You may want to think about an epitaph. You know, not an epitaph I could think about is, I borrowed $200,000 for a clinical nurse leader program, but I died 2 months after I started work. At least I don't have to pay the student loans back. I don't know, I don't know. I borrowed $200,000 for my clinical nurse leader master's program at Georgetown University. Um, and I'm not planning to die from COVID, but who never knows? You never know. Only God knows. God wants to call me back home to heaven before Christmas. There's nothing I could do, and I would love to be with Jesus anyway. But I rather be here. Obviously, I have my mom and dad, my sisters, my family members, my friends. I still have to get married. I've never been married in my life. I'm not having children. I'm hoping to marry, either Taylor Swift or someone who looks like her. I don't know. Taylor Swift is still single, so who knows? But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I generally want 18 to 24 or 26 max, but in Taylor Swift's case, I'm making an exception. She wants to marry me, but that's like she's a one of a kind. So yeah, but everyone else probably you have to be an 18 to 26 window. But if you look like Taylor Swift and you're a good Christian, email me, and let me know. You could go to my website, heerakforcongress.com, and you could email me directly from there. you know, marriage is important. I want a good woman next to me, as I save the world as a U.S. congressman. So yeah, submit a resume, photos, several photos. But anyway, maybe some of you have seen India, matchmaking. It's kind of like that. You prepare a dossier or portfolio to submit to matchmaking, right? I haven't seen that show, but I know that's how it works in India, from what I understand. In most societies, you kind of send some kind of dossier, right? Um, but anyway, yeah. So we have 4,287,974 cases. Yeah, and Korean history is great. I had 5,000 years of pure Korean blood. So obviously, I like women who are blonde and blue-eyed, like, uh, like, um, like Taylor Swift. So I don't mind breaking my 5,000 years of pure Korean blood for someone like that. Um, but yeah, probably not for like a brunette with brown eyes, because it's like a Korean. If I fall in love, what can you do? But 5,000 years of pure Korean blood is, I mean, throw that away from somebody who looks Korean, like Korean. It doesn't make sense to me. Like Koreans, like my friends or acquaintances, they marry white women who's like brown hair and brown eye, and they look Korean, kind of from a distance. I'm like, hello, Yeah, but when you love someone, obviously you love someone, but you know, but it's a responsibility having 5,000 years of pure blood. It's like being an Irish person, Irish Catholic in Ireland, with pure Irish blood for like probably 5,000 years. Why would you want to throw that away unless you're in love, right? But please throw that away for me. I like Irish Catholics. People who revere Virgin Mary and try to stay a virgin until marriage. I respect that tradition, because that's the Christian tradition. You're not supposed to have sex before marriage. So I like that Irish Catholic tradition of revering Virgin Mary and trying to emulate her. If you're a woman, that's a great thing, because virginity is sanctity. And yeah, virgin that has been entered by penis is a sacred womb. Right? Definition Bible shows that, and it's like that in theology, right? Christian theologians have concept of the sacred womb that has been penetrated by penis. Yeah, there's a spiritual value to virginity. Um, yeah, and I'll talk about this some other time, but for now, I guess I want to share with you that turtle ship. Turtle ship is famous in Korea. It's called kabuksan, and General Sun Xin Lee, Yi Sun Xin 장군, he was the commander of that ship, and he was hit by an arrow. He was mortally wounded, but he didn't want to lose the battle, so he pretended like he was alive. So he told his closest right hand and left hand guys to prop him up, so people, his soldiers, his navy crew would not think that he was dead, but he was dead. So they propped him up and they won the victory, and then obviously they found that he was dead. Um, but that's a legend. I mean, it's historical. It actually happened, but it's something that Koreans remember and talk about often. We have the Korean royal palace. That's the Yi Dynasty palace. That's the monarchy that killed all the Christian missionaries and missionary converts, Koreans who converted to Christianity. That's the reason why we had the Japanese occupation from a split triangle. God punished Korea. Because God punishes the whole people for the uh, things that the rulers do uh, in the name of the people that go against the word of God. Just the way God is. Don't forget Kim Davis there on the left side. Yeah. And King Sejong, he's the one who created the Korean alphabet many hundreds of years ago. And he was one of the kings of the Yi dynasty. So he gave us the Korean language, he created the Korean language. And Yi dynasty is considered the most intellectual dynasty. It's Confucian dynasty, and Confucianism emphasizes education. And that's why you see all these Koreans studying hard and trying to be number one in their high school in Vienna, Oakton, in Fairfax County and Arlington, because that's a heritage of the Confucian dynasty. Koreans are known for samunori, and that's like a traditional Korean dance, and you see it there. If you have an opportunity to, I would say go see it. I mean, you could Google it, watch videos of samunori. It's pretty cool stuff. It comes from traditional Korean society, and that's one of the arts of Korea. So if you're into dancing or music, you should definitely have a look, and see how Korean traditional dance is like. And obviously, Korean Taekwondo is martial arts of Korea. Chinese have Kung Fu, Japanese have karate, and we have Taekwondo. And obviously, I took Taekwondo because I'm Korean. All Koreans are kind of, they take Taekwondo. In Korea, it's like part of the PE gym. They take Taekwondo. Yeah, so I thought since we're talking about Korea, we'll look at, Asia's top 10. India is number one right now with 1,435,453 cases. The death rate is 2%, so that's like half of America, right? But their death is rising because the cases are rising. You can't avoid that. So they have 32,771 deaths, so they're number one. They have the most cases. Poor India. I feel so bad for India. Look at that. Number two is Pakistan, India's competition, and they only have 274,289 cases. The death rate is also 2%, but they only have 5,842 cases. So India is doing something wrong because it's not happening in Pakistan, right? And Bangladesh, also their death rate is 1%. They have 226,225 cases and 2,965 deaths. Indonesia is number four with 100,303 cases. Um, and their death is 4,838. Their death at 5%, so it's kind of high, but they're able to contain the spread, which is kind of interesting because it's a very crowded country. They don't really have much medicine, so yeah, it's kind of shocking that they're able to keep the cases low. China, obviously, is a country of 1 billion people, and look at that, 86,783 cases, and their death is at 4,656. It hasn't really changed. Nobody's dying in China. So their companies are working at full force. Their factory and manufacturing is at 100% operation capacity. I mean, yeah, we're kind of screwed because we're suffering from COVID. We got to bring COVID down to zero because, a nation which has all of its citizens die or a lot of citizens die is a nation that's going to go toward destruction. The only reason that Europeans were able to take North America, South America is because all the Native Americans died from diseases that came with European travelers, right? I mean, if the Native Americans did not die from disease, there's no way that North America and South America would have been taken by European conquistadors. I mean, the numbers alone, there was no way they could have defeated them. It's disease that killed all the Native Americans off. That's why they were able to take the land. Dying from disease is one way a civilization gets destroyed. Do you know how beautiful Inca culture is? Aztec culture? These are empires that spent centuries, right? Fearless empires. Um, yeah. And if it weren't for disease that killed them off, I mean, they may still exist as empires now. You know, Europeans would not have been able to occupy the countries. So yeah, disease is perhaps the number one way that an empire falls. And what I fear is COVID-19 may be that disease that causes our empire, the United States, to completely be destroyed. And then China could come in and take our country, just the way Europeans came into North America and took its country. It's like cycle because, you know, originally Asians came to, you know, Native Americans are like Asian blood, right? They crossed over when the continents were not separated, and then the continents separated. But Native Americans have Asian blood. That's why I look Mexican. Mexicans look like me. So Hispanic Americans, you know, they like me because I look like them. You know, um, you know, they have a mixture of some white blood because of the European, you know, travelers who came and settled in this area. But you know, it's like a full cycle. You know, if China comes and occupies America, you know, it's like a it's a full cycle. Yeah. Anyway, obviously, I don't want that to happen. You know, I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th district. I want America to be strong, but I would say the priority number one for America is not to die, because we know what happened in history with Incas and Aztecs. They died off. Not dying is priority number one. That's like step number one to maintaining your country, not dying. Because if you have millions of people dying, then that's the end of your country, really. That's, you know, that's the beginning of the end. That's how Aztec cultures fell, Inca culture fell, 100 different nations, Native American nations in America, that's how they fell. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you take away the population, you know, what do you have left? Yeah, so that's why I'm saying close down all the college, close down all the high schools, middle schools, elementary schools. Let's keep our people alive. That's priority number one. The music you're hearing in the background is like Korean traditional music. Yeah, hope you like it. Now, you know, I'm going to share with you 3 articles that I think are important and relevant for today's context. Something that we need to seriously consider before we become like Inca and Aztec culture, and a lot of people in our country die. We need to avoid that. Unfortunately, United States is not taking the measures that we need to avoid massive death. You know, Georgetown's opening up, and I think it's the stupidest thing that Georgetown's doing. Because, I mean, it will have to shut down again. Obviously, since COVID-19. We have over 1,000 cases in Virginia. We have over 1,000 cases in Maryland right now. It's going up. Soon we're going to have over 2,000 cases in Virginia, over 2,000 cases in Maryland. It's so predictable. Can't believe Virginia is opening up. I mean, Georgetown is opening up. It's a stupid thing to do. We're going to have professors dying now and staff members dying. It's going to be tragic. And this is even before the first semester starts. We'll probably have some deaths. Yeah. And if the semester starts, we could even have like 10,000 cases per day in the DMV area, like Greater Washington, D.C. area. It's going to be tragic. Just watch. We're going to become like Incas and Aztecs. And that's where we're headed. And then China's going to just come in and occupy our country and colonize us. Wait and see. You know, I'm wrong. I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. I'm Heerak Christian Kim. I'm an expert of history. I'm an expert of Jewish history. I'm a certified expert of education. I'm a certified expert. You know, I passed my curriculum leader exam. You know, a couple of weeks ago. So I'm a certified expert of healthcare. I'm an expert of theology. You know, I'm an expert in many different areas. You know, yeah. So yeah. So my insights are pretty deep and accurate. I've been more accurate than Dr. Fauci since March. in my predictions. And I predict that I'll be more accurate than Dr. Fauci on what's going to happen in the winter. Oh, no offense, Dr. Fauci. I like you, Dr. Fauci. But, I'm just more accurate because I bring multidisciplinary approach to examining COVID-19. And multidisciplinary approach is probably the best approach because you could be just myopic if you just look at it from one perspective. Um, Dr. So the first quote is Dr. Fauci first pitch baseball card breaks Topps record for sales in just 24 hours. It's in CNN, reported by Lorenzo Reyes today. And the significant quote for that is, it was on sale for only 24 hours, but it broke company records. The Topps Now limited edition baseball trading card featuring Dr. Anthony Fauci, Director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, set an all-time print record run for the franchise. Excuse me. Selling 51,512 cards, the company said, in 24 hours. What does that mean? It means three things, and I'm going to give you Heerak Christian Kim expert analysis. Number one, Dr. Anthony Fauci is a national hero. You don't buy cards of people that you don't consider a hero, right? Dr. Anthony Fauci has become like a hero, more so than baseball players, because no one wants to die, and he's giving America guidance on how to survive, and so he's a hero. More Americans think of him as a hero than not. That's Republicans, Democrats, and independents. And Republicans need to pay attention to this. Don't be too stubborn. Nobody wants to die. You don't want to die. Your children don't want to die. Your family doesn't want to die either. So you need to reconfigure yourself to be heroes of COVID-19. Don't push to open stuff. When people die, you're going to be blamed, right? I saw Senate Majority Leader McConnell have a video on putting on a mask. I think that's brilliant. You want to be seen as people who are wanting to save the people and meet the needs of the people. And Senator McConnell today said that he wants to help the people by giving them $1,200 stimulus checks. And I think it's good that McConnell is reducing unemployment benefits because, or getting rid of that is okay too, because you gotta remember, no one who's unemployed now are going to get jobs for the foreseeable future until we have a vaccine or a cure. So we need to transition from unemployment payment to stimulus checks, because all the Americans are suffering now. We have 50 million Americans who are unemployed. We cannot continue the unemployment benefits because none of them are going to get hired. The whole point of unemployment benefit is trying to get them to stay afloat until they get the next job. But since their jobs are gone and they're not going to be recreated, what we need to focus on is financing people who have jobs, continue having jobs, to support companies to transition from physical presence to online presence, and for workers to work at an office to working at home. We need to support these things. That's the way to go. We need to support companies to transition and adapt to the COVID-19 environment, manufacture things that are more COVID-19 oriented, like masks and, hand sanitizers and stuff like that, yeah. So we need to support that. And we need to support US citizens because there are a lot of people who are underemployed, who have 2-3 jobs, who could not claim unemployment benefits anyway. But now because of COVID, they can't work anywhere. So before they had like 3 part-time jobs and they could not really get unemployment because they had 3 part-time jobs. They need support. So we need to transition into stimulus checks for all Americans rather than unemployment benefits, because that's not helpful. We're going to continue to have more people becoming unemployed. So we have to transition everybody to stimulus checks, like kind of support for the all American people, print money to keep America afloat financially until we develop a vaccine, cure, and or some kind of way to survive this. that is not medical in nature, like ventilators. You know, we need to create next generation like face masks. You know, something that's light, that's not, you know, that you can wear and talk through. You know, like 8 hours without taking off. You know, we need to start developing these things, and somebody may come up with this, which would allow us to live in a more normal way. You see what I mean? But we don't have any mass right now that allows us to live in a normal way, like, you know, without endangering COVID-19. You wear a mask, you know, 20, 40% or less effective, so you can still get it. So that's why, you know, right now we can't really open up the country. We can't open schools. We cannot open colleges because even if you wear a mask, you're only about 30, 40% protected. So there's a high chance you're going to get it. So we can't really open now. That's why I'm saying, you know, even if we don't have a vaccine, even if we don't have a cure, if our engineers can create some kind of next generation advanced mouthpiece or mouth and nose piece that can help us be protected from COVID, you know, so we need to approach this from multi-pronged, but we don't have that yet right now. Yeah, heroes of America will be people who develop these things, right? And we need like Alexander Graham Bell of 21st century develops things like this that we need. Yeah, next article is FDA expands list of potentially contaminated hand sanitizers to 77. I do not use a hand sanitizer at home. I never buy hand sanitizers just the way I am. Obviously, you can buy hand sanitizer, but make sure you don't buy a contaminated one because the cure can be worse than the disease, right? You may not have COVID and you use this hand sanitizer and you could die from it if it's contaminated. This is the reason I don't buy hand sanitizers because I'm not sure which one's safe and which one's not. Obviously, there are safe brands, but I don't want to go to like FDA list every day to see which is safe and which is not. It's just too much work. So I use the soap and water. At home, I can just use soap and water and just go to the bathroom, wash my hand, you know? I don't need a sanitizer at home. Obviously, outside, you may need a sanitizer, but I try not to go outside too much, except for essentials, you know? So that means I don't really need a sanitizer. I go shopping. As soon as I come back from shopping, I wash my hand in soap and water. Soap and water is the best way anyway to kill germs. It's much more effective than a hand sanitizer. Yeah, because there are some germs you cannot kill off with alcohol hand sanitizer. Yeah, and so yeah. But anyway, second article is FDA expands list of potentially contaminated hand sanitizer 77. It was reported by Gretchen Gerloff in NBC 15 WMTV. And the significant quote from that is, the FDA is aware of people who have ingested with contaminated hand sanitizer and suffered adverse effects, including blindness, hospitalization, and death. All of the recalled sanitizers are manufactured by companies in Mexico. However, many are sold locally by retailers such as Costco and Walmart. So shame on Costco, shame on Walmart. This is one of the reasons why I do not support immunity for companies because I believe that Costco and Walmart should be held legally liable if they sell hand sanitizers that's on the 77 ban list in FDA. But this is where I disagree with Senate Majority Leader McConnell. I don't think we should protect companies and give them immunity because then Walmart and Costco can get away with something like this. Now, I don't think that's fair. We need to force companies to pay attention to life and death situations and be liable legally for it. So I object to, I think that immunity for companies should be taken out. Yeah, that's something that I feel strongly about because I think we must put American people first. We cannot excuse companies that are negligent, like using hand sanitizers that are on the contaminated list in FDA. Yeah, so I object to like giving immunity to colleges, schools, and companies. You're absolutely wrong. Then they're not going to care how many people die. right? And we're going to more that way. We need to protect human life. I think that's a priority. I march for life. Therefore, I stand firmly against any kind of immunity for companies, schools, or colleges. Yeah, I march for life, American people's lives. I am Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, and I stand against immunity for companies, schools, and colleges. If what they do kills people, they should be legally liable. That way, they're going to be more careful. We need companies, schools, and colleges to be careful, so people don't die. Yeah, I mean, as I said, having people live in a nation is vital to its survival. The reason Inca culture fell, Aztec empire fell, is because people died in large numbers. That's the quickest way for a nation to be destroyed. So we cannot take away liability from companies. We cannot make them immune during COVID-19 era because this is forever. It's not like COVID-19 is here for a couple of years. It's forever. Companies have to adapt. Companies have to be careful not to kill people. And so I stand firmly against the Republican Party and Mitch McConnell's trying to give immunity to companies and schools and colleges. It's absolutely wrong. It's unethical because I march for life. We need companies to be liable. We need schools to be liable to protect life. Yeah, so I stand against the Republican Party. As you know, I'm an independent candidate for U.S. Congress. I don't stand with the Republicans on all the issues. I don't stand with Democratic Party on most issues. Um, yeah, but certainly immunity, we must stand against immunity with everything we got. Because immunity makes companies, colleges, schools careless. Because they're like, oh, if the students die, nobody can sue us. No, if let's say 500 students at Georgetown dies because Georgetown opened up, they should be legally liable for them. Yeah, because they could have closed, but they decided to open. You give them immunity, then everybody's going to do that. We're not going to have a population left. Yeah, we need to keep companies, schools liable for death through negligence. Now we have a third article. NFL cancels preseason games ahead of 2020 season, commissioner says. That's from today on CNN. Amir Vera and Joe Martin. And the quote is, the mandate comes as every aspect of sporting world has been affected by coronavirus. Earlier this year, the NFL had to hold its draft virtually to avoid the spread of the virus. The problem right now in the sports world is they're still living in pre-COVID 2019 America. No, we're not in pre-COVID 2019 year America. You can never go back. You can never go back. I mean, World Health Organization is saying COVID-19 is forever. What we need to do, we need to develop new sports that's going to work in COVID era. That's what we need to do. Don't hold on to the sports of yesteryears. That gone is the old world. We have to develop sports for popular consumption that could work in COVID-19 era. Obviously, if they produce like a nose guard, mouth guard that's light enough for sports, within next 5-10 years, we may be able to bring the sports back. But I'm predicting there will not be a successful vaccine because there's no vaccine for HIV, and people worked on vaccine for decades. There's no vaccine for hepatitis C, so I don't think the vaccines will work. The cure, probably not either. There's no cure for HIV. There are antiviral medications to take to reduce the load of virus, but you can never get rid of it. So I think that's like that with COVID-19. And we don't even know the long-term effects of COVID-19. We don't know what it does to your body, long-term. Because, we've only had it for like a few months. Yeah, we need to transition our society to COVID-19 America, because this is the America we live in. This is the America that we're going to live in for many years, unless millions of our population dies, and then China invades us and then conquers us and colonizes us. Remember, European society did not die from the same disease that killed off Inca and Aztec population. So don't think that Chinese people are going to die off, because they're not dying now, which means they probably will not die. But we Americans are dying, which means we'll probably continue to die. So think of China as like the European explorers, and America is like the Aztec Inca Empire. We can die off. China will not. And they will come and take our land. So think of it that way. I think that's a better way to think of it. We're not in this together. Obviously, because Chinese people are not dying, their factories are open, they're operating at 100% capacity. There's like no cases of COVID in China. Obviously, we're not in it together. Those people who say we're in together, they're lying to you. Nobody's dying in China. So yeah, let's not be the Inca Empire that self-destructs. We need to keep our people alive. That is priority number one. There is nothing more important than keeping our citizens alive until we develop a cure, vaccine, or some kind of advanced next generation mask that we wear that is 99% or more proof against COVID-19 transmission. Until that happens, we need to keep our citizens alive. That's a priority. It could be 6 months, it could be 1 year, it could be 2 years. It doesn't matter. We need to keep our people alive. Yeah, so I feel strongly that we need to direct everything in this direction. I do not believe in the liberal media. And liberal media is trying to tell us we're going to have a vaccine in 6 months. I don't believe CNN when they say that. It's just liberal media is fake media. Until I see it, there are people who die from vaccines. You know that, right? You could die from vaccines. So I'm not going to be taking the vaccine unless I'm forced to. Like I will not be taking the first batch of vaccine because I don't want to see how many people live and how many people die before I take the vaccine. It's too risky. You need at least 2 years to develop vaccine safely, and if you rush vaccine, it's not safe. So yeah, I mean I take flu vaccine every year, but flu vaccine has been around for a long time. They tweak it a little bit like every year, but yeah. But anyway, but flu mutates, right? COVID-19 can mutate every year too. You just don't know. Nobody knows what COVID-19 is going to do. So yeah. So yeah, we need to develop our society in the direction of going online. Georgetown University has to close to keep people safe, professors, staff members safe, their children safe. All these professors have children. I mean, you could have a whole professor and his whole family dying or her whole family dying. Think about the tragedy of that. I mean, our priority has to be keeping people alive. A lot of the professors can research at home. Let them research at home. If departments open, they're going to require people to come in. It's going to get messy. We just have to keep the campus closed. What are you going to do if your department chair says come in? Campus is open, so you have to go in. You get COVID-19, bring it to all your family members, and they will die. We need to keep people alive. That has to be our priority right now. That has to be our priority number one, because when our citizens die, our country collapses. We must learn from Aztecs and Incas. Europeans did not die, but they did. So think of China as European explorers and us as Incas, right? Players change in history, but historical dynamics can stay the same. Learn from history. Don't be the Incas, don't be the Aztecs. Close everything down. Do everything at home. Stop the spread, flatten the curve. We have to survive as a nation. We're not going to survive this way. COVID-19 is spreading, and it's not even flu season. If we don't bring down COVID-19 to zero before flu season, we're going to have like 1 million dying per month. Million per month. I mean, you think Florida has 10,000 cases a lot? We're going to have like states with 50,000 cases per day. You're going to have death in the thousands per day. Do you want that? Ask any scientist if that's not possible. That is possible. Scientifically, that can happen. 10,000 people can die in New York every day during flu season. That's theoretically possible, scientifically possible, and that has happened in history with certain viruses or certain diseases. So do not doubt that that could happen. Yeah, so obviously Heerak Christian Kim, that's who I am, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, created this show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak, to save your life and save your children's life. You're very lucky that I created this show for you. And I'm going to be working as a nurse starting August to save you and your children. So you may see me in the hospital. You know, whichever hospital I sign with, you may come there and you may see me. Make sure you come to my hospital, you know, if you're nearby. You know, and obviously, you know, I want to save you your life, and I'm running for U.S. Congress, but I'm not a rich guy like Tom Bayer, my opponent, who's a millionaire from Volvo, Bayer's Volvo in Alexandria. So I have to work, you know, to survive financially. So obviously I'm working because I want to save your life, but also I'm working because I need to pay for stuff. So yeah, my school, I graduate from school in August. I want to start working right after school ends, like, you know, relay race. You know, I finish and I start working. So I'm negotiating that with hospitals that are interested in hiring me. I want to start working right away, you know. I guess the hospital that, you know, allows me to do that will be the ones that gets me, right? It's priorities, right? So yeah. So, you know, I'll be working in the hospital and I intend to win. And if I win in November, on November 3rd, because you vote for me, then I will be sworn in January. So I'll work until December and I'll be sworn in and I'll work as U.S. Congressman. If I don't win for some reason, then I'll continue working as a nurse. You know, obviously, you know, if I am elected, then I will go there to save your life, your children's life. If you don't want me to be your representative, that's fine with me too. You know, it's your loss, because I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. You need me in Congress. But, you know, I mean, it's up to you. You're the voters. Yeah. So help me so I could help you. It's a very important point, right? I want to help you, but you could help me so I could help you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to sign off for today. Thanks for coming on and check back tomorrow. It's a daily show. And I'll bring you more information that's helpful to you so you can be updated on all that's going on. Like hand sanitizer, you know, I don't want you to die from hand sanitizer because death is death, whether you die from COVID-19 or from a contaminated hand sanitizer, death is death. Yeah, so I want to save you from COVID-19, but everything else that's related or around during COVID-19 era. Yeah, so don't forget to vote for me for independent candidate for U.S. Congress of Virginia's 8th District on November 3rd. Help me so I can help you. So so I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'll bring you a lot of important information you need to survive COVID-19. And, you know, once I go to Congress, I'll keep the congressional politicians in check so they don't screw you over, you know, and stand up for the companies, you know? Um, yeah. I mean, both Democrats and Republicans are screwing you over right now. So it's not one party, it's both Democrats and Republicans. So you need somebody like me in Congress to keep the establishment party members in check, Democrats and Republicans. So that's why you need to send me to Congress to get rid of this corruption. We need to have a government that is for the people, by the people. So help us, God, right? So yeah, I hope that you will be well, that your children will be well, and that your family be well. See you tomorrow. Bye.